I am Vanshi. Let's start this project. So for this reflection, I am focusing on our devising process and how it links to the theatre company Frantic Assembly. Before we even started rehearsing, I knew Frantic Assembly were really physical and didn't rely heavily on scripts. Even knowing that, when we actually started devising, I found it quite difficult. For me, not having a script felt confusing at first. In the very first rehearsal, we were asked to just move around the space and respond to each other physically, and honestly, it felt awkward. I realized quite quickly that I was used to being told what to do rather than creating something from nothing. In those early rehearsals, in those rehearsals, a lot of what we made didn't work, and that was frustrating. For example, in one session, we tried creating a short scene using dialogue to explain the theme. We ran it a few minutes, but it sounded forced and didn't feel natural at all. After talking about it as a group, we decided to cut most of the dialogue and focus on moments instead. Looking back, this links really clearly to Frantic Assembly's style because they often tell stories through physical moments rather than words. One exercise that really stands out for me was when we explored repetition. In one rehearsal, we created a simple moment where I stepped forward and another performer physically blocked me. We repeated that action again and again. At first, I struggled with it because it felt boring and too simple. As I said. I remember thinking this can't be effective. But when we watched it back, I realized that the repetition actually made the frustration really clear. The moment helped me understand why Frantic Assembly use repetition so often in their work. Another thing that felt very similar to Frantic Assembly's approach was how collaborative our process was. Everyone contributed their ideas and nothing was fixed straight away. For example, the opening of a piece came from a suggestion to start in complete stillness. We then slowly added moments, eye contacts, and changes in levels. For me, this was interesting because the final version looked very different from the original idea. But it only worked because we kept developing it together as a group. We also worked in small sections rather than trying to create the whole piece at once. In one rehearsal, we created a short lift that only lasted a few seconds. At first, I didn't think it added anything, and I actually suggested cutting it. But after refining it and adjusting the timings, it became one of the most meaningful in the piece I ever created. I realized that Frantic Assembly's idea of building small moments and developing them over time actually works really well. However, there were also differences between our work and Frantic Assemblies. One big difference was our confidence and physical ability. Frantic Assemblies performers are extremely skilled, whereas our group sometimes struggled. For me personally, the trust exercise was difficult. In one rehearsal, I had to save my physical existence from a moving object. I hesitated, and it made the moment look messy. Yuck. But I realized that my lack of confidence affected the whole group. Over time, as we practiced more, that trust improved, but it showed me how demanding this style of theatre really is. In terms of my whole group, in terms of my role, in whole group, I think I contributed most during the development stages. I often gave feedback on what looked effective and what didn't. For example, during one run-through, I pointed out that the transition between two sections felt sudden. We then experimented with linking the scenes using moments instead of stopping completely, which made the piece flow better. That made me realize how important transactions are in device theater. This process taught me a lot about myself. I realized that I like having structure, so working in a devising process pushed me out of my comfort zone. At the same time, I learned that making mistakes is actually a part of process. Yes, I mean, frantic assembly's approach helped me understand that theatre doesn't always need dialogue to be powerful, and that moment can often say more than words. Overall, comparing our devising process to frantic assembly's approach helped me understand why physical theatre can be so effective. While our work wasn't as polished as professionals, but using similar techniques helped us create something meaningful. But if we had more time, I would focus on building confidence in contact work and refining physical details. For me, this experience changed the way I think about devising and performance. So that's all my performance was there for this project, and thank you.